Hello everyone, welcome to this lesson. Today we're going to talk about les pronoms d'objet et les pronoms compléments. Now les pronoms d'objet are the first two ones, I and en, and we have been talking about these for a few days now. We've done a lot of activities in class, and after I show you some examples, I'm going to talk about the rest of the pronouns, les pronoms compléments, le, la, les, elle, apostrophe, lui, et leur. But first, let me show you some examples with the first two, I and en. Okay, here we go. Les pronoms d'objet are, that's what they're called, I and en. They're called les pronoms d'objet, and they are used to replace a noun, a nom ou un groupe nominal, a group of nouns. And usually these two are replaced, they are preceded by these keywords here highlighted in yellow. Alors, a, au, à la, au, chez, or en, usually. Par exemple, in the first sentence here, elle va en Espagne, she goes to Spain. So I'm going to replace this phrase en Espagne by the pronoun y, elle y va. And you can see it goes before the verb. The second example, je vais à la plage, I go to the beach. So I'm going to replace à la plage by y, j'y vais. Okay, and it goes again before the verb j'y vais. Nous allons à l'école, the third example. We go to school. So I'm going to replace à l'école by y, and same thing, I'm going to put that pronoun y before the verb. Nous y allons. Okay, and next pronoun, le pronom en, again, is also used to replace a noun or a group of nouns, and usually start with de or de la, du, des, un, deux, trois, quelques, plusieurs. So you always have to look for these expressions or words, keywords, to help you decide which pronoun you need to use. So here are some examples. Elle a mangé la plupart du gâteau. So you can see there's a keyword here, du. So I'm going to replace du gâteau, cake. The sentence is saying, elle a mangé la plupart du gâteau. She ate most of the cake. So du gâteau is what I need to replace first, and that would be en. Elle en a mangé, she ate. And then how much cake did she eat? This is the expression of quantity that describes how much cake she had. La plupart, most of. And that expression is going to go at the end of the sentence. Elle en a mangé la plupart. So en is our pronoun that replaces du gâteau, and it goes before the verb. La plupart, the expression of quantity, goes at the end of the sentence. The second example, nous avons acheté quelques livres. We bought a few books. So livre is the word I'm going to replace with en. Nous en avons acheté. We bought what? We bought a few books. Alors, nous en avons acheté quelques-uns. Quelques is the expression of quantity, and it needs to go at the end of the sentence. In the third example, ils ont visité plusieurs villes européennes. They visited several European cities. And I'm going to replace ville européenne by the pronoun en. Alors, ils en ont visité. Now, how many cities did they visit? Plusieurs. This is our expression of quantity, and I need, again, to put it at the end of the sentence. Ils en ont visité plusieurs. They visited several. The last example, j'ai bu du café au lait. I drank coffee with milk. D'accord? So, du café au lait is the phrase I'm going to replace with en. J'en ai bu. Now, in the sentence, I did not say how much or indicate the quantity, so there is no expression of quantity at the end of the sentence. J'en ai bu is all you have. D'accord? Now let's talk about the other pronouns, le, la, les, or elle apostrophe. Again, these pronouns are also used to replace nouns or groups of nouns. Des noms ou des groupes nominaux, which start, again, by one of these key words here. Le, la, les, elle apostrophe, ce, cette, c'est, ma, mon, or mes. So again, pay attention to these keywords. They will really help you decide which pronoun you need to use. So the first example, j'envoie cette lettre. I send this letter, so I'm going to replace cette by one of these pronouns, and I'm going to choose la because lettre is a feminine noun and it needs to be replaced by a feminine pronoun. Alors, je l'envoie. Now, look, what happened here is that la turned into an apostrophe because envoie is a verb that starts with a vowel. And we know that rule that when we have a vowel next to a vowel, the first one turns into apostrophe. In the second example, je prends mes livres. I take my books, so I'm going to replace my books, mes livres, by one of these, and I'm going to choose les. Yes, that's because I have a plural noun here, and I'm going to put it into my sentence so it looks like this. Je les prends, I take them. In the third example, je ne connais pas ce monsieur, I don't know this man. I'm going to replace ce monsieur by le. Le is the only pronoun that can replace this because ce monsieur is masculin and le is a masculine pronoun. Alors, je ne le connais pas, and le again is placed before the verb connais. Je ne le connais pas. Now, what happens when we have passé composé? Passé composé, as in these examples here, the first one, j'ai fait mes devoirs, I did my homework. And I'm going to replace mes devoirs, my homework, by a pronoun. I'm going to choose les because mes devoirs is plural. So, je les ai fait. Now, les is still placed before the verb. However, here, the past participle takes an S. And that's because the noun that we have replaced here is a plural. So the past participle really has to agree with the noun that it is referring to. D'accord? So S refers for plural. The second example, elle a lavé la voiture. She washed the car. So I'm going to choose la, but since I have a vowel here again, I need to use an apostrophe. Elle l'a lavé. And lavé is the past participle that really needs to follow the noun that it is referring to. In this case, la voiture, which is a feminine noun, laver must take an extra I. Elle l'a lavé. And then in the third example, nous avons pris la vieille route. We took the old road. And the old road is also a feminine noun. So if I have to replace it by a pronoun, it would be la. But since I have another verb that starts with vowel, I'm going to use the apostrophe elle. Nous l'avons prise. And the past participle also takes an E here because la vieille route is a feminine noun. So you can see the past participle must agree with the noun or follow the noun that it is referring to in gender and in number, like here. In the last example, elle a oublié ses clés. She forgot her keys. Ses clés is a plural noun, her keys. And if I replace it by a pronoun, I need to use les. And I'm going to put it before the verb. Elle les a oubliés. Oublié, she forgot them. So my past participle here again takes an S because clé is a plural noun. Okay, so you really have to remember that rule that a past participle agrees in gender and in number with the noun that it is referring to. D'accord? Now these two pronouns, lui and leur, we have lui means him or her, lui, leur means them. So these are used to replace also nouns or sometimes objects that start with the following keywords, à, au, pour, or avec. Par exemple, je rends visite à mes cousins. I visit my cousins. So if I have to replace my cousins with one of these, I need to use leur because this is the plural pronoun. Je leur rends visite. I visit them. And then tu voyages avec Pierre. You travel with Pierre. So Pierre is a singular noun. So for that, I need to use lui. Tu voyages avec lui. It's a question. And in the third example, nous avons téléphoné aux voisins. This is a plural noun. We called the neighbors, so I'm going to use leur to replace the neighbors because this is the plural pronoun. We called them. Nous leur avons téléphoné. Okay? Now, there is an exception to every rule in grammar, and this is one of them here. So you have to be careful with the following examples. Je travaille pour mes parents. I work for my parents. If I have to replace mes parents, I cannot use leur here. I have to use eux. Je travaille pour eux. I work for them, even though it means them in English. And then in the next example, je pense à ma mère. I think about my mother. Je pense à elle. So here I cannot use lui. I use elle to refer to my mother. Je pense à elle. And then in the third example, nous parlons de la voisine. We talk about the neighbor. And here I'm referring to a female neighbor. So nous parlons d'elle. D'accord? Because I'm referring to her. Now I'm going to show you those verbs that go with the pronouns. There are some verbs that need to go with certain pronouns. So these you need to use lui or leur with these verbs here, and you need to use lui, elle, and eux with these verbs here. So they are really important. It is very important for you guys to know which verb to use with what pronoun. And you need to keep this chart handy at all times. Okay. So now what happens to lui and leur au passé composé? We have the first two examples. J'ai parlé au prof. I talked or spoke to the teacher. So au prof, I'm going to replace it by lui. I spoke to him. J'ai parlé au prof. Je lui ai parlé. And then tu as téléphoné à Sylvie. You called Sylvie. So Sylvie will be replaced by lui. Tu lui as téléphoné. And what do you notice about the pronoun? It is also here placed before the verb. Je lui ai parlé. Tu lui as téléphoné. Now you have two sentences here for practice. What I want you to do is to replace the words in yellow with the highlighted with the appropriate pronoun. So you need to either use lui or leur to replace these highlighted phrases. And we can do the correction when I see you in class tomorrow. Now next, I have for you now, let's talk about what happens when we have more than one pronoun in a sentence. How do we put them in order? So it is very, very simple. Here's an example. Elle prête son CD à Pierre. So I color-coded the words for you so you can see how they are placed in a sentence when they are replaced by pronouns. Alors, elle prête son CD à Pierre. She lends her CD to Pierre. So if I replace son CD, it would be le. If I replace Pierre, it would be lui. Alors, elle le lui prête. And you can see the pronoun, the order of the pronouns really follows the order of the nouns in the original sentence. Nous écrivons la lettre au directeur. We write the letter to the director. So nous la lui écrivons. La to replace lettre, lui to replace directeur. Il a écrit le poème à sa copine. He writes a poem to his friend. So il le lui a écrit, lui to replace poème, pardon, le to replace poème, lui for copine. And then tu donnes ton adresse au voisin. You give your address to neighbors. So la to replace adresse, leur to replace neighbors. And the order of the pronouns really is the same as in the original sentences. Okay. So here I have another practice for you to do. This is your homework. And you have 4 sentences. And each sentence has a phrase highlighted in yellow. Your job is to replace each highlighted phrase with the appropriate pronouns, the one that we talked about today. Okay? So this is your homework. And I will see you tomorrow. Okay. Bye now.